Well, greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to the best damn movie-related show on the planet Earth, the John Campea Show podcast, coming from right here in our quaint little studio. I'm, of course, your host, John Campea. I'm joined in studio today by Ray Ora.
Hey.
Jonathan Voiko's here.
Good morning.
Paris Rose is here.
Hey, hey.
And most importantly, you guys are here. Thank you so much for being here, making this little show part of your day. And here's how our show's going to go. We're going to start off by talking about a bunch of topics. Then in the second part of the show, that's where you guys come in, because that's when we take your live comments and questions. If you have a comment, question, observation, theory, critique, whatever that you'd like us to address on the show, and as long as we deem it to be appropriate to be addressed on the show, go ahead and use our tip link at www.streamelements.com/JohnCampea/tip, and we'll get around to that in the second half of the show. And by the way, if you're somebody who's watching this show later on, like after we're done being live, and you still have a question, good news. This tip link works 24 hours a day. So if you're watching the show later on, you got a question, fire it on into the tip link, and we'll get around to addressing it on tomorrow's episode. All right, guys, we got a lot of stuff to cover here today, and today is one of those unfortunate days that we have to start with bad news. As Shelley Duvall, news came out today that she has passed away at the age of 75. Of course, she is iconic in this industry. I mean, I think, and nobody denies, one of the single most iconic scenes and shots in movie history is The Shining's "Here's Johnny," and of course, Shelley Duvall is the other end of that scene, right? So of course, when everybody thinks of Shelley Duvall, most people, 95% of people, will think of The Shining. And what she did, like, everybody thinks of Jack, obviously, but without Shelley there and the performance she gives in that movie, it loses a lot of its heart. She was amazing. Some people go into the ridiculous side when they think of Shelley Duvall. They think of olive oil.
Come on, that's not ridiculous.
Yeah.
And Robin Williams's
Yeah,
Popeye.
it was.
Woo! There's a movie everybody regret being in, but it's classic, right? It was so bad, it became totally classic. But I'll tell you what, and this will be the unpopular thing. When I think of Shelley Duvall, yes, Shining will come into mind, and one of the like 50 other movies that she did.
Frankenweenie.
Here's the one that I will always think of first, though. The one I will always think of first is a little movie she did with Stephen Martin and Daryl Hannah, Roxanne. Which is, of course,
in Roxanne.
the take on the classic tale of Cyrano de Bergerac.
Right.
The Americanized comedy version of it, if you will. With, you know what? Do you remember who the main love interest guy in it was? Remember the firefighter in it? You know who he was? The only other thing he was really well known for was he was Slider in the original Top Gun. And that's pretty much it. He was like kind of in that, and he was in Roxanne.
Yeah.
But I loved her in Roxanne. I loved her. She just had this very distinct face, this very distinct voice, this very distinct presence. And I was really sad to hear this morning that she passed away.
Do you remember her? Sorry. Do you remember her in Suburban Commando?
Yeah, with the Hogan. Yep.
So that was my really where I was like, oh, she's in this. So that's
You know, Ray's in the room when the next call out is Suburban Commando.
I don't
Hulk
know.
Hogan.
I don't watch much, but I do watch the best.
But I watched the best. Jonathan, I know when I mentioned to you, I said, did you hear about Shelley Duvall? You were like, yeah, man. Like,
Oh, yeah.
When you think of Shelley Duvall, what's the first thing that comes to your mind?
First thing that comes to mind is all work and no play makes
Yeah.
Jack a dull boy.
How
She
can
goes
for
to
most
Shining.
people, yeah.
Goes to Shining. Unlike you, I love Popeye. I unapologetically.
Me too, Jonathan.
It is not
I'm
so
with
bad
you
it's
on
good.
that.
I love Popeye.
Who was Brutus?
Oh, boy.
I cannot
gotta look that up.
remember now for the life of me who was Brutus in that. But I think that's the first time I will gladly, what was he say? I will gladly pay you tomorrow
Oh,
for
that's
a
right.
hamburger
Yeah, that's
today.
Wimpy.
Yep,
Wimpy. That was
Wimpy.
Wimpy.
That was it.
Brutus was right here. It's Bluto.
Bluto, yeah.
Paul L. Smith.
Oh yeah, I call it Brutus.
Brutus, yeah, it's Bluto.
I
Wimpy was Paul Dooley.
remember the old. I can't remember if it was on Atari or in television. There was a Popeye game,
Yes.
and it was basically you had to catch little hearts. It was
Yes.
basically kind of like Donkey
Donkey
Kong.
Kong.
Yeah, that's right. Oh, that's
But
going back.
when you would get that spinach,
Oh yeah, then you
Oh.
were, yeah.
Ooh.
Then shit got real when you got spinach. Anyway, So tragic to hear today about the passing of Shelley Duvall. She gave us so much joy, so many classic moments, and she passes away at the age of 75. And of course, all of our thoughts and well wishes go out to those who knew and loved her. All right, guys. With that down, let's get into our main topics here today, shall we? Paris, what do we got up first?
All right. Well, in the midst of its parent company, Cineworld, going in and out of bankruptcy, Regal Cinemas has announced that they are undertaking a $250 million upgrade project. So according to The Hollywood Reporter, the raise is intended to boost its already existing locations, 425 theaters across the country, with enhancements like luxury recliners and other amenities. So, John, is this a good use of Regal's money?
Yes. Yeah. Okay. So let me say yes, that this is a good use of the money. That if, in the cash strap theater system right now, especially Regal, because their owner, Cineworld, as you pointed out, have been going in and out of bankruptcy, this is a lot of money to start throwing around. Some people might even ask, hey, with everything being so financially precarious right now, is now a good time to be raising and spending $250 million? And I would say, that's exactly why this is a good time to be spending $250 million. Look, we are still living in the getting to the post-pandemic world when it comes to theaters. In the world, we're post-pandemic. In the movie industry, we're still kind of working our way out of the last bit of shadows of it. And they understand that you aren't just, when you're a movie theater, you're not just selling a movie. You're selling an experience. You're selling a night out, right? It's not just the movie that's on the screen. It's, are the snacks good? Are the seats comfortable? Do you have a wow factor of going to the movies? Do you enjoy yourself overall? You're selling a night out or an afternoon out, whatever experience. And I'll tell you what, I remember the first time I walked into that, we had our offices at the AMC Burbank 16 when I was doing AMC Movie Talk. And that became the first theater that they installed that prime theater with the leather motorized reclining seats. Mm. And dude, I still remember the first time we went into that theater and the first time we watched a movie in that. And we walked out and I turned to Ann and I said, I think I've been ruined now. Because I going to the movies is won't be the same other than this type of an experience, right? So then we've seen other things. We went to that Cinemark. That's right.
One time.
That one time.
And I will never let anyone forget that was one of the best experiences because of one of the big things was their reclining seats.
Their reclining seats were great. Their tables were great. All that kind of stuff.
And every time we go to AMC and you guys book me a ticket, like we're watching something and I see Auditorium 16, I'm so happy. But when I see Auditorium 1, I'm like, do I really want to see this movie? And that's the IMAX theater. And the IMAX theater is good, has regular seats. I just love watching a movie, no matter what length, in the recliner seats.
Yeah, it's
I've gotten so spoiled. What took them so long?
But even more than that, like other upgrades, like making sure, because listen, your first experience, your first impressions are everything. I love walking. A lot of AMC movie theaters have like these big grand murals of classic movie scenes and stuff. Like there's something to be said about the wow factor when you walk. I remember there was this big movie theater in Edmonton when Edmonton had the world's largest mall and they had a big movie theater in it. But right above the movie theater inside the mall was this giant, like 60-foot dragon that every 5 minutes would start to move and smoke would come out. And then it would lift its head and they literally had flamethrowers.
That's so cool.
Fire coming out. It just made me love going to the movie theater, right?
I mean, some people died, but it was cool.
People died, but whatever. So here's the thing. Investing this money into upgrading the moviegoer's experience absolutely 100% is a good use of the money. That being said, if you have a car and your tire is flat and you go out and get a new paint job, install a brand new stereo, get some nice seat cushions and stuff like that put in, have you made your car riding experience better? Yes, you have. But have you addressed the key problem with your car right now? The tire, you haven't. And while I do think all this stuff they're talking about spending their money on is good stuff, 100% I do, I still think the movie theater industry, Regal, AMC, Cinemark, everybody, I still think there are some core issues that they're not addressing right now. One of the big issues, you know it as me, is the absolute nonsense of them playing like a half hour of commercials and trailers before a movie's supposed to start. That ruins people's experience. The cost of buying snacks at the concession stand. Listen, we understand that that's how movie theaters make their money. But paying $8 for a Coke, I think everybody on the planet understands you need a good profit margin. We know that. But paying $8 for a Coke that I can get for 50 cents somewhere else, that's got to be addressed. I'm not saying make it $2, but that's got to be addressed. Things like this, look at the paint job, put in a better stereo, yes. But in the midst of doing all this, I would encourage the movie theaters like Regal to don't ignore those key problems of length of trailers, expense of going to the concession stand, like those. Make sure these things get addressed as well.
And let's face it, a lot of us, like me before, will work at a desk, right? A 9-to-5 job. The last thing you want, if let's say you're going to a movie theater, is to be sitting in a chair that's just as uncomfortable as your desk chair. I think it's. I don't have a recliner at home that's like the ones in the Dolby Theater, so it's almost like it will help people choose this theater over another theater.
Absolutely will,
because of like their comfort, and
not only choose one theater over another. When it comes close to deciding what am I going to do with my evening, it will help them choose to go to the theater at all.
Right.
Yeah.
If they know they're going to go and have a nice, relaxing, comfortable experience, it all helps. But again, just don't ignore those other factors that still need to be addressed. All right, guys, question is for you. What do you think about this? Do you think Regal putting up $250 million to do upgrades to the theaters is a good thing? I do. Or do you think that's all nice, but it's not the reason I don't go? Whatever you guys think, jump down to the comments section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys, with that down, let's move on to this, shall we? Paris, what do we got up next?
Yeah, so it looks like 2 highly anticipated upcoming Max originals are now going to be rebranded as HBO originals, just like Lanterns and the upcoming Harry Potter series did. According to Deadline, the company is now continuing the shift with the move of The Penguin and Dune Prophecy. Both shows will now premiere on HBO as well as launching on its Max streaming service. It's a part of a strategy to rebrand its highest profile titles into HBO originals, giving them a linear airing on the premium cable network as well as a streaming bow. So, John, how significant is this branding shift?
It's actually not all that significant. Listen, I jumped into our community tab last night, right? And I fired, and I do this once in a while, I fired into the community tab. I said, hey, guys, just starting to pull together our topics for tomorrow. Do you have anything you'd like to see us discuss? And a number of people wrote in saying, it's being reported that Penguin and Dune are going to go to HBO first and then pop up on Max later. And I'm shocked to see how many people thinks that's what's happening. That it's going to be on HBO, not on Max. Let's be very, very clear about this. It's really just semantics.
Mm-hmm.
Everything, you know what else is an HBO original? House of the Dragon. Does that appear on HBO and then like a few days later on Max? No,
Yeah.
It drops at the same time.
Yeah. Right.
But it is branded as an HBO original.
Yeah.
Right? That's what's going to be happening here with, I got to check this because I got something important coming up.
Well,
Not
it's
yet.
just like if something's coming out on Disney as opposed to like Star Wars, Marvel, whatever. It's not like on the Disney Channel first and then on Disney Plus. It's just on that tab that's Disney versus Marvel versus Star Wars. It's on the HBO tab on Max versus their other tabs. You know?
Yeah, it's just, well, and it'll be featured. Like when I
Yeah.
log into Max on Sunday at 6 p.m., I don't even have to go into an HBO tab. Front and center, big thing on my screen when I open Max. House of the Dragon, new episode available.
Yep.
Right?
Boom.
That's all it's going to be. What this is simply that word that Paris used. It's branding. That's
Right.
all this is. It's branding. And now this is where it does get significant. And we talked about this a little bit when they announced that the new Green Lantern show was now going to be an HBO original instead of a Max original, that the new Harry Potter series is going to be an HBO original instead of Max original. What does it ultimately mean? Nothing. It's still going to be on HBO and it's still going to be on Max and it's going to be there all at the same time. Because I know a lot of people wrote in and got all weird. It's like, I don't have HBO. I only have Max. Am I not going to be able to watch the new Harry Potter? Yes, you're still going to be watching the new Harry Potter. But what we said back then is even more true now. This, to me, is yet another indication that at some point, I think before the end of the year, Max is going to be rebranded.
I think so too.
And it's going to be HBO something. And the reason they're going to do it, as I said before, is because HBO, and this is why when they named their service Max, I said this is one of the most idiot moves they could possibly do. It was the dumbest things David Zaslav has done since taking over Warner Brothers. It was changing that thing up because the name HBO is a trusted name. The name HBO is a revered name. But HBO is a name that is synonymous with the highest quality in television history. All that comes along with the name HBO. And when they changed the name of their streaming service to just Max, a lot of you guys at home and we on our show said this is one of the most idiotic things you can do. You literally got this gold mine in a brand and you're taking that brand away. So with them now officially saying that Green Lanterns is now an HBO original, Harry Potter is an HBO original, the It prequel series is now an HBO original, The Penguin is now an HBO original, and Dune Prophecy is now an HBO original. What that is actually doing, the significance of that is they have finally recognized the value of the brand of HBO and that at some point soon it's going to be called HBO Max, HBO Cock, HBO Plus, HBO, whatever. That's what it's going to be called again.
And not only that, when Warner Brothers and Discovery linked up, right? There's a lot of channels that Discovery was housing, and this is a way to separate each of them from, just them getting all mixed up. I guess for me, Max only makes sense because they got a bunch of stuff now, right? So I think it's like if they still had boxing on HBO, it would be under HBO Sports. It just wouldn't be under Max. I think this is just a way, of organizing things too.
Well, yeah, I mean, I get it because you go under, when you load up Max, and I love Max. I love it as streaming service because I admit it, I'm a bit of a sucker for the home renovation shows. I'm a bit of a sucker for
90 Day Fiance.
Oh, screw that. No. But the foodie shows, I'm a bit of a sucker for the foodie shows, all that kind of stuff. And you go into Max and you've got Discovery and you got Food Network and you got HGTV and it's a really great service. I love it for that reason. And I understand that, hey, we're moving Discovery, we're getting
TLC,
Food Network, we're getting TLC, we're getting HGTV. Why call the streaming service HBO when I get it, I do. But HBO's the name.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
HBO's the name. That's why they're calling these shows HBO. But in practical terms, it means nothing. I can assure all of you guys, to those of you who were panically writing to me this morning going, what, so I'm going to have to wait to watch it on Max? These shows are going to drop on Max exactly when they were going to drop on Max, exactly when they drop on HBO. There's going to be no difference. HBO and Max are basically interchangeable words, so everything's going to be fine. But I think the big thing is by the end of the year, we're going to see the name of Max change again. Anyway, guys, question is for you. What do you think about this? Do you think that maybe there's deeper significance to the fact that they've taken this show that's already been made, Penguin, and now calling it an HBO original, and Dune, an HBO original, or do you just see it as, no, this is just them leveraging their branding, and like I said, probably changing the name of Max later on to take advantage of it more. Whatever you guys think, jump down into the comments section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, let's move on to our next topic here, shall we? Paris, what do we got up next?
All right. So the last few weeks, we've been talking about the incredible success of the newest Pixar film, Inside Out 2, which has rapidly become one of the biggest box office hits of all time. Well, now the film has achieved another amazing milestone. According to The Hollywood Reporter, on Wednesday, Inside Out 2 passed up Incredibles 2, $1.242 billion, to become the top-grossing Pixar title of all time at the worldwide box office, the GOAT. So, John, is this milestone a big deal for Inside Out 2?
It's an incredibly big deal, but not for the reasons people think. Okay, so for the reason that everybody does think, and this is an important reason. When you think about Pixar, you think about Toy Story and Monsters, Inc. and, dare I say, Ant's Life. Or Bug's Life, I mean.
Yeah.
Ants is the other one. Or you think about Up, or Wall-E, or Ratatouille, or The Incredibles, or on and on and on. You talk about some of the all-time greatest animated films ever. And now this one has topped them all. This movie is now in one of the most celebrated movie franchises ever, Pixar, the Pixar brand. This movie that just came out has topped, just past the final hurdle, the Incredibles movie, to become the #1 box office film of all time out of that brand. Again, names like Coco, Wall-E, Up, Ratatouille, The Incredibles, Toy Story, yada, 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 on and on and on and on. And this movie just became the king of the hill of all of them. That is very significant. That's huge. Absolutely. But there's another reason why I think this is a really massive deal. And that is this. It's when this happened. It was not long ago. It's a matter of months. We can count it in months. That everybody, some with joy, were screaming and proclaiming Pixar was dead.
What?
Remember that?
Yep.
Yeah,
Lightyear
I do.
came out and, stuff like that. The Pixar was it. And were they having their struggles? Absolutely they were. And then Elemental came out. By the way, again, if you haven't seen Elemental, watch Elemental. It's beautiful. It's a wonderful film. But, it came out, super struggled at first, had a very small opening weekend. Everybody wrote it off, but then word of mouth got out, made about $500 million. Still, nobody believed it anymore. Everybody thought Disney was dead. Everybody thought Pixar was dead. And then out of nowhere comes Inside Out 2 to not just be successful and not just be a big hit, to become the biggest they've ever had in their storied history. I think it is significant of the when this has happened. It's happening when everybody had written Pixar off and said Pixar was dead. But here's the other significant thing about the when. This now, the 23rd, as of this moment, it's going to climb higher, the 23rd biggest film in cinematic history, the 5th biggest animated film in cinematic history, the #1 biggest film in Pixar history. This $1.25 billion film just happened when everybody said the box office was dead. This is significant. It's not like this came out in a year when 5 other films hit $1 billion mark, right? This $1.25 billion juggernaut is happening in the midst of when everybody said the box office was dead.
Mm-hmm.
It's dead. Why? Because, Furiosa fell on its face. And it did. Even though I love the movie, it fell on its face. Fall Guy fell on its face. It did. I love that movie, but it flopped. Totally did. But it's in the midst of all these conversations and everybody saying that the box office is dead, everything blah, blah, blah. Oh yeah, Inside Out 2 came along. Made $1.25 billion, might get to $1.3 billion. Became the #1 Pixar box office film of all time. So yes, it is significant that it's become the #1 of this storied Hall of Fame list of films like Coco and Toy Story and in the original Inside Out and what have you. Yes, #1 Pixar all time is significant, but I think even more significant is the when. Because it happened when people were saying Pixar was dead, and it happened when people said the box office was dead. And for that reason, I think it's incredibly significant. And we'll see what's going to happen now. As we start motoring towards, we are 2 weeks away from Deadpool. We got some other big films coming out this year. We were saying, I actually read another article the other day that said the third quarter of this year could be the biggest quarter in box office history. But I mean, whether or not that's true, I didn't read it in depth. We'll see. But anyway, guys, question is for you. What do you think about this? I mean, it's nothing we should sneeze at. Inside Out 2 just became the biggest hit in Pixar history. in a very awkward time when people said Pixar was dead and that the movie box office business was dead. Whatever you guys think about this, jump down into the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that stuff down, we still got to talk about, is Hugh Jackman going to actually continue on as Wolverine in the Marvel Cinematic Universe after Deadpool 3? And Critic has seen the first 35 minutes of Deadpool 3 and is saying this is something that's going to, by the way, somebody who is completely jaded on Marvel, and said this is going to reignite the Marvel Cinematic Universe and maybe set an entire new direction for comic book films in general. We're going to go into his words a little bit in depth. But before we do, we're going to take a quick second here and thank a couple of sponsors of today's episode of the John Campea Show podcast. Our friends at Miracle Made and Manscaped. Guys, we want to take a second to thank a sponsor of today's episode, Miracle Made. Guys, it's hot outside and your nighttime bedroom temperature has a huge impact on your sleep quality. So if you wake up too hot or too cold, I highly recommend you check out Miracle Made's bed sheets. Miracle Made sheets are inspired by NASA and use silver-infused fabrics that are temperature regulating so you can sleep at the perfect temperature all night long. There are just so many things that make these sheets so fantastic. We already mentioned the self-cooling properties for better quality sleep, but they're also self-cleaning. These sheets are infused with silver that prevent up to 99.7% of bacterial growth, leaving them to stay cleaner and fresh 3 times longer than other sheets. No more gross odors. So go to trymiracle.com/Campea. That's TRYMIRACLE.com/Campea to try Miracle Made sheets today. And whether you're buying them for yourself or as a gift for a loved one, if you order today, you can save over 40%. And if you use our promo code Campea at checkout, you'll get 3 free towels and save an extra 20%. Miracle is so confident in their product, it's backed with a 30-day money-back guarantee. So if you aren't 100% satisfied, you'll get a full refund. So upgrade your sleep with Miracle Made. Go to trymiracle.com/Campea and use the code Campea to claim your free 3-piece towel set and save over 40% off. Again, that's trymiracle.com/Campea to treat yourself. Thank you, Miracle Made, for sponsoring this episode. Guys, we want to take a second and thank a sponsor of today's episode, Manscaped. Sizzle alert, this summer, let the only thing that's smoking at your barbecue be the grill, not your grooming game. Get ready for the ultimate cookout season with Manscaped. Whether you're flipping burgers or cannonballing into the pool, make sure your meat looks neat with the Performance Package 5.0 Ultra. Head to manscaped.com and use the code Campea for 20% off and free shipping. Now, come on, guys, if you're like me, you used to do your grooming the old barbaric way. You know, using the clippers on your electric shaver, it never did a good job and always left me screaming out several profanities. So like me, you know that you need the Performance Package 5.0 Ultra. The Lawnmower 5.0 Ultra is perfect for achieving that crisp, clean, and confident look for your barbecues and beach days. The Weed Whacker 2.0, guys, keep your ears and nose as tidy as your hedges next door with our Weed Whacker 2.0 ear and nose hair trimmer. And you get Crop Soother Ball Aftershave Lotion, Crop Preserver, Anti-Chafing Ball Deodorant, and Boxers 2.0, the ultimate supplement to those hot summer days, equipped with the signature jewel pouch to protect your meatballs wherever the heat takes you. So get 20% off and free shipping with the code Campea at manscaped.com. That's 20% off with free shipping at manscaped.com and use that code Campea. Manscaped, the perfect way to get your patties sizzling hot this summer. And thank you to our friends at Manscaped and Miracle Made for sponsoring today's episode of the John Campea Show podcast. All right, guys, with that down, let's go on to our next topic here, shall we? Paris, what do we got up next?
Yeah, well, obviously one of the biggest pieces of movie news in recent years was that Hugh Jackman was coming out of his Wolverine retirement to play the Canadian X-Men once again in Deadpool 3. Now, many people are speculating that this isn't just a one-off, but that Kevin Feige plans on using Hugh Jackman as the ongoing Wolverine in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Forbes itself even wrote that he's almost certainly not going to be replaced after Deadpool 3. And it seems likely that in addition to leading Fox's X-Men, he's going to stay around for the MCUs as well. So John, what do you think the chances are that Hugh Jackman stays on for the Wolverine for the MCU?
Slim. I'll be honest, still slim, but like you mentioned, there's a very interesting article in Forbes that I want to go over in a second here. But ever since they announced that Hugh was coming back to be in Deadpool, because remember, he had retired. He was like, he played the character for over 20 years. It's like, okay, I'm done. I'm finished. I've wrapped it up. And what a beautiful swan song with Logan. So then he gets talked into coming back for Deadpool, which is something I think they planned for many years. Because, I mean, Hugh Jackman and Ryan Reynolds have been laying the groundwork for this on social media with their fake feud for years and years and years and years and years. But there's always been this discussion ever since they announced it that no, a lot of people believe he's going to stay around. Now, Forbes articulates this in an article that they wrote today that I thought was very interesting. I thought we'd address that here. So Forbes said this. They said, first, it's that main question I just said. At the baseline, it would feel weird to have a new Wolverine for the first time in 25 years across multiple X-Men movies and 3 solo features. No one else in the history of comic book movies has played a superhero role this long or this often. But bringing Jackman in for Deadpool and Wolverine, and rumor has it the Avengers films, at the end of the multiverse saga, would make replacing him shortly after even more unlikely and unwelcome. Then this was reinforced by a new quote from Ryan Reynolds promoting the film, saying out loud, the concept there, or here, there's only been one Wolverine. The reason is no one can do it except him. Jackman on stage just stands there smiling, not denying or shaking his head. Rather, he flashes a peace sign. I certainly think that other people could play Wolverine, but again, it's not in a situation that makes sense. Okay, so Forbes, the writer at Forbes, clearly believes that not only is Hugh Jackman now in for Deadpool and Wolverine, but that he's going to be around for a while. And what he says makes sense. He raises valid points, right? That like getting him back as Wolverine right now, that will probably be the biggest film of the year. And having everybody excited and everybody euphoric, provided that the movie is good, which it's sounding more and more like it is. We'll talk about that in a minute. Then it would be, to Forbes's point, a very weird time to then just pluck him away again and say, okay, glad you enjoyed that. Remember how mad people got, irrationally so, when we got John Krasinski as Mr. Fantastic for a minute in Doctor Strange 2, only to find out later that he wasn't going to be our ongoing. And instead of being happy that we got John Krasinski to appear as it, people got instead pissy. That, well, why isn't he staying around? It was like, well, because they wanted to give you what you asked for. They give you, you got to see him once anyway. So Forbes is making the point that it'll just feel weird to pull him away again. And it's a valid point. I, however, still disagree. And I might be wrong, 100%. I don't know for a fact. I'm just telling you as a fan why I currently disagree. Number one, we're talking about starting a whole new era in the MCU. And here's a reality. While this is still young-ish, Hugh Jackman is 55 years old. He's 55. Now, the reason I bring up his age is because he brings up his age. When he was wrapping up Logan, one of the things, you guys remember this, you all read this, when he was wrapping up Logan, and he was talking about that this was his last hurrah, a couple of the big things that he pointed out was, I'm older now. And the big thing he pointed out was, I can't stay in the shape that I want to. You have no idea how many hours every day, the type of diet I have to eat, the type of workouts I have to do, all that kind of stuff. And it's getting harder, and it takes longer and longer and longer for me to stay in that shape. And he strictly said, don't want to do it anymore. I don't want to live my life this way anymore. So the idea that they were able to get him out for one last hurrah because the whole world wanted to see Wolverine and Deadpool together, I get it. He got back into the gym. He posted on social media every day, him pumping insane amounts of weight, and he clearly got himself back into fighting shape for this movie. But does he want to do that for 5 more years? Does he want to do that till he's 60?
I would love for him to stick around until he's 60, but he deserves a break. It's a crazy lifestyle, staying that in shape. I think he deserves this retirement, but I don't want to see him go. I'm going to be a little bit, I think, pessimistic about anyone who replaces him. I just
Well,
can't
and
see
I think
it.
everybody will,
Yeah.
right? Everybody will feel that way. Now, somebody in the live chat, EC says actors typically have to get into shape for movies. Not the type of shape
Yeah.
he's getting
Not that like
into.
that.
Ripped,
Not that kind of in
Bending
shape.
the
zero
barbell
body fat.
from the weight. Come on.
Yeah, no, they don't have to get into that kind of shape. Yes, every once in a while, you'll get your Glenn Powell. But guess what? Glenn Powell ain't 55.
Yeah.
Right.
The 55-year-olds aren't typically getting in that kind of shape.
Yeah, and I think if anything, while I understand Forbes's point, and I think it's well made, that it would be really weird to replace him after this. To me, this is the best time to replace him. You know why? Because it means Wolverine doesn't do his goodbye in a Fox movie. It means he does his goodbye where it should be, in a Marvel movie. It gives him that chance to come back for one last hurrah and then right off into the sunset under the Marvel banner. And then once that's done and we're heading into like whatever Avengers 5 is going to be called and then Avengers Secret War, there is no better time to introduce us to a brand new Wolverine.
Do you
And-
think they might possibly tease this goodbye in Deadpool and Wolverine? Mm-hmm. Like they're gonna let us know.
Yeah,
It's-
I don't think it'll be teased. I think it'll be explicit. Again, I don't know. I haven't seen the film.
Yeah.
I don't know. I could be totally wrong about this. 100% I could be wrong about this, and that's fine. We're just speculating as fans here. But yeah, I think now there are some people speculating that we're actually going to get introduced to the new Wolverine in this movie. I don't think it's going to go that far. I think they're going to reserve this for Hugh to be his goodbye and to keep the focus on him. Again, I could be wrong about that. Maybe they introduce a new Wolverine.
And speaking of Wolverine, I hate to go off topic, but
Since when do you hate going off topic?
Yeah, I kinda think
they
you like
just released the aviation gin bottle
For
Oh, no.
Wolverine.
the
Yeah, I
Wolverine
see
one.
that.
Yeah,
So that's
again,
really cool.
Ray talking about things that none of the rest of us can
I'm
see.
just saying,
It
he's
is
the
Wolverine, though, and it's
I'm just
Ryan
saying,
Reynolds'
You know what I
company.
mean? If it's his last run, why not buy this bottle? You know,
I-
a collector's edition.
I wouldn't say this is off the rails. It's just like adjacent. I guess that's still technically
Can
off
you
the
get
rails,
the
but it's
picture?
not.
Yeah, and I want to
Yeah.
see it.
Yeah, because now we're talking about
let's just
something that
have
the
Ray
audience isn't.
describe it to us.
Yeah,
Of
yeah.
course, we've got
Because you have the
got
Deadpool one.
the Deadpool aviation gin,
And we
that
knew
got
there was
sent
going to be a
me.
Wolverine one coming out. There's actually supposed to be 6
I didn't.
different ones. I don't know what the other 4
Yeah, I
are.
got it right here.
All right, let's take a look at this.
There you go.
Okay.
Oh, I like that.
So if
Still
I
the
had
smoked
to,
glass, but I like that.
That's
pretty.
classy.
yeah, put that with the Deadpool
We'll
one.
have
Come
to
on.
get that and put it beside.
Yeah, beside
the Deadpool bottle.
Orion.
Yeah, Ryan, can you send me this one? So yeah, so at the end of the day, I think this is the perfect time to say goodbye. It gives you a great clean sheet to bring in a new one. Listen, if Hugh Jackman was 48, 48, hell, 50. If Hugh Jackman was just 50,
Yeah.
I would say, yeah, but to start a whole new phase of playing Wolverine, a character that, unlike Robert Downey Jr. and Iron Man, he's just wearing CGI armor the whole time. Like, you gotta look.
That's, by the way, that's legit. Someone didn't Photoshop that. That's on like a liquor store's thing, like for their advertising.
Really?
Yeah. That's legit.
Did you see the Bachelorette ad?
Yes,
Oh my
it was
God.
epic. It was I loved it.
Like, you know what? And when it comes down to it, like, he's given all these years to us.
Oh,
I
yeah.
mean,
Oh, yeah.
if he
Yeah.
says goodbye, I don't see anyone having a problem with it. They shouldn't. I mean, he's given us more than we asked for. Bad movies, good
way
movies.
more. Yeah, you're right.
He's played
Yeah.
'em-
Yeah.
he's played 'em-
And again, he's 55.
He could just hand it off to a younger version of himself. Like,
That would be great.
It does
Yeah.
because, like, if you look at a movie like Looper, like JGL doesn't look like Bruce Willis, but you also believe that was a younger version of him. So it
Oh,
could
yeah.
be like Radcliffe or anyone who else, Efron, whatever,
not
and it could be.
Daniel.
But it could also
I'm
be
just
a
saying,
totally
anyone.
different.
Yeah.
It could be like
It
a
doesn't have to
totally,
be-
It doesn't have to be somebody who looks like a young. It can be a completely new Wolverine.
And he's like, that's younger me, or yeah, you're right, whatever.
But who knows? Like, remember No Way Home? I thought when we were about to see it, I said, I think this movie is just a way for Andrew Garfield and Toby to say goodbye, since both of their things were kind of left, like, you know, just like a for.
and I
that's
think
what
it
always
was.
thought.
But they're not
Right,
coming
right.
back.
Yeah.
But then after it came out and made $1 billion,
Oh, yeah.
then they started talking about
No,
another movie.
they didn't start talking about it.
Oh,
Fans
and
started
fans
talking
started
about
talking
it.
about it.
Fans started talking about it.
But yeah. So
Again, like I said, if he was like 5 years younger, if he hadn't been so adamant about the thing that I don't want to live like this anymore, I've done it for over 20 years. I want to do different things now, because he's still, I mean, look, at 50, we're talking about like he's an old man at 55. He's still young,
Old man.
but he's young in the sense that he's got so many other things he can do now. But does he want to spend the next 10 years of his life spending 2.5 hours every day in the gym and having to eat 5 chicken breasts and not being able to eat pastries? And I don't think he wants to do that.
And you know what he should do if he does leave this? I have Real Steel 2, baby. The
Oh,
sequel
yeah.
to-
Get one with
Please,
Sean
Hugh.
Levy again. Go do Real Steel 2.
Please,
do some
Hugh.
dramas.
Yep.
Do some more musicals. Do whatever you want. Now, look, if I'm wrong about this, and again, this is just fan speculation. That's all I'm doing is fan speculation. So if I'm wrong about this, there won't be anybody happier about it than me. I would love for Hugh Jackman to drop me a note and say, just so you know, John, I just signed up to play Wolverine 4 more times over the next 6 years. Nobody will be happier about that than me. I will freaking pop bottles. Here we go. Here we go. I'll be so happy. I'll be thrilled. I'm just saying, let's be realistic,
It's
guys.
got to end on a high note.
Yeah, I think this is the way to go out.
Yeah.
I think if this movie's as good as they're saying it is, we'll see. Anyway, guys, question is for you. What do you think about this? Do you think that this is our final farewell to Hugh Jackman as Wolverine? He came out of retirement so he could say goodbye with Deadpool in a Marvel film. Or do you believe, like Forbes is pointing out, making some really good points, that no, this is just a natural progression. He's going to continue to be Wolverine. He's going to be Marvel's Wolverine. Whatever you guys think, jump down into the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, let's move on to our next topic here, shall we? Paris, what we got up next?
All right, keeping it with Deadpool and Wolverine, we are now officially just 2 weeks away
2
from
weeks?
the opening of
weeks.
Deadpool and Wolverine. So last week we discussed some initial reaction coming out of China, where fans got to see 30 minutes of the film. Now, IGN has been permitted to see the first 35 minutes of the film, and they're saying this movie could very well reignite the entire MCU and could be a vital turning point for comic book movie culture as a whole. So, John, what is your biggest takeaway from the IGN review?
Honestly, there's a lot.
Yeah.
There's a lot here. Now, like Paris just pointed out, we heard that they showed 30 some odd minutes of the film to an audience in China at a special gathering that Hugh Jackman, Sean Levy, and Ryan Reynolds were at. And the media there said the entire audience was continuous laughter and continuous applause through the whole thing. That sounds good.
Yeah.
Okay, that's good. I'm down for that. That sounds great. But what happens when a journalist writes it? Matt Purslow over at IGN has kind of given up on the MCU. It's a little bit jaded, a little bit negative on the MCU these days. Anyway, they invited IGN and him to watch the first 35 minutes of Deadpool. And his commentary on this, I think there's so many things to take away from this. It's a really well-written piece. And I want to go into it a little bit in depth, if you'll allow me here. And then I'll encourage a lot of you guys to go and find the article yourselves and give it a read. But listen to some of this. Okay, so IGN was recently invited to watch the opening act of Deadpool and Wolverine, which was then followed by a new trailer. Those 35 minutes are as funny, crass, and violent as you'd expect of a Deadpool project. But beneath the gags is a weightier sense of purpose. Deadpool and Wolverine actively and directly recognizes that there's an ongoing conversation about the quality of the MCU right now. And while we won't know for sure until the full cut of the movie releases on July 26th, really July 25th, the fourth wall breaking subtext seems to be a story that recognizes that there's a lot of work to be done and that the journey to reclaiming the MCU's former glory starts here. I love that. And I love it for a couple of different reasons. First of all, I love the whole opening statement that he makes that this number one could reignite And there was this weird debate going on in the live chat. Some people said, Reignite means they're saying this fixes the MCU. It's like, no, reigniting does not mean fixing. It means it's a starting point. It means this can be the start of getting things going. But they also wrote that not only could this reignite the MCU, but this could be a turning point for comic book movies as a whole. And one of the things I really love about that opening statement that they make is this whole notion that the movie itself is aware and openly addresses that Marvel isn't in its best spot right now. Like, a lot of us picked up on that a little bit in the first trailer when he says, you know, I'm here to save the Marvel, the cinematic universe. I am Marvel Jesus. Like, the subtext of that joke is, I am here to save Marvel. Of course, it's done in a funny way, but I love the fact that if this is true, that Kevin Feige, Ryan Reynolds, all of them are saying, we're acknowledging that we're not that Marvel hasn't been what it used to be. They've still had some very good stuff, but not as much as we're used to, and a lot more mediocrity than we're accustomed from them. So for them to completely address it in movie and to acknowledge it in movie, I think would be fabulous. Absolutely fabulous. Listen, there's a lot in the article, but I want to jump down to this paragraph here, where it says this, but it was the way these fan service elements, he mentions a lot of fan service elements, but are done very well. But it was the way these fan service elements were wrapped around concepts and fourth wall breaking jokes about the MCU as an entity that interested me the most. As I said earlier, Deadpool and Wolverine knows that some fans are not happy with the MCU right now. It wants to have a dialogue with them. It wants to demonstrate that things are back on track with a movie that not only provides genuinely good fan service, but also proves that Marvel Studios can still make films that make you sit up, pay attention, and get invested. I walked into the screening of Deadpool and Wolverine opening act as a jaded former MCU fan who really didn't care about this gimmick project. I left with a smile on my face, a need to watch the entire film, and for the first time since Endgame, a genuine hope for the future of Marvel. Is there any other wet dream fan fiction that any Marvel film fan could have possibly hoped to have read in that? Acknowledging we've been in a stagnant place, giving absolute hilarity, giving us glorious visceral violence, and taking somebody who's been kind of jaded towards the MCU walking out saying, I loved it, I laughed, I can't wait to see the whole thing, and finally, for the first time in maybe years, I feel hopeful for the future of this franchise. If we as movie fans, if we as Marvel fans could have written a script of what the perfect thing to hear about the first act of this movie is, that's what it would be. That's what it would be.
That was almost an emotional review.
Yes.
I feel like, wow. I'm always been excited, but this got me even more excited just because I know it wasn't a biased review either. So that's...
Right. Now, I want to be the one to point this out. A couple years ago, I saw the first 30 minutes of Lightyear. And I thought those first 30 minutes, and they are, the first 30 minutes of Lightyear are spectacular. The problem was, when I went to go see the full movie, it wasn't nearly as spectacular. They went pretty down off a cliff. So I want to be the one to acknowledge that. Like, okay, this is just 35 minutes of this movie this guy saw. But what has been the constant refrain we've heard coming out of this camp is that all the best stuff is in the second and third act. They've been insisting that they're not going to show us anything from the second and third act, that they're not going to reveal anything about the other two acts, that all the best stuff that is going to, in Sean Levy's words, leave us screaming, all that stuff is in the second and third act. So maybe they're right, maybe they're wrong. Maybe this will be another Lightyear, and it's a great first 35 minutes, and then the rest goes down the toilet. Maybe that happens. Maybe it does. But in a world where I knew that this morning I was going to hear the first actual insight into the first act of the film, did I want to hear this, knowing that maybe it goes downhill after acts 2 and 3? Or did I want to hear, it's okay? I wanted to hear this. I wanted to hear this. And I got to tell you guys, my biggest problem right now with Deadpool and Wolverine is my expectations are getting really damn high. And my number one enemy going into this film is going to be my own expectations, because after seeing that 9 minutes of footage they showed us at CinemaCon, after the trailers we're seeing, the reports that we're hearing, I could not be more ludicrously excited. It is easily my number one most anticipated film of the year.
It's hard for me to think that these two gentlemen, one of them came out of retirement, that these two guys that have been entertaining to us for the longest on Twitter are gonna make a bad movie together, especially playing these two characters. It's just the thought of this being a bad movie just doesn't even cross my mind at all. Like I'm ready for this. Like I said, only reason why I'm quiet is because the excitement has just passed through my body.
Yeah,
already,
it's just too much. Now,
It could be underwhelming though, not bad, but it could be like, I mean, if you're on John's level of excitement, it could leave room to be underwhelming.
Yeah, which is the big danger. That's the big danger of this right now. Somebody just asked in the live chat, Chubbs GPT is asking in the live chat, when will we hear from critics who have seen the full movie? This is going to be one of those rare, I don't know this as a fact, this is my prediction. Whenever they show a movie to critics and have a review embargo like super close to the release date, like the day of or the day before, I always say it's a red flag. And people will always scream, well, maybe they're just trying to keep things secret. And that's never the case. It's very, 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 very rarely the case. I don't know when they're doing the press screenings for this. And I don't know when, I have no idea right now when they're going to have a review embargo. But my guess is this will be one of those films that they're going to show it to the press maybe 48 hours before the movie comes out, and maybe actually hold the review embargo till day of. Because right at CinemaCon and all through, the consistent message we've heard from Sean Levy in person and through the media and Kevin Feige has been, we've never had a movie filled with this many surprises, and we are trying desperately to hide them. They've said that for months, ever since April at CinemaCon. They literally came on stage and said, we struggled to find 9 minutes of stuff to show you guys. There's so much in here. And so because of that, my guess is, and I could be wrong, they might show it early and lift the review embargo 6 days before the movie comes out, maybe. But my guess is going to be that because of how secretive they're trying to be with this movie, my guess is it's going to be one of those review embargoes that lifts the day before. I don't know for sure, but that's kind of my guess. Anyway, guys, question is for you. What do you think about all this? I mean, we're hearing from RGN that this is a movie that's delivering on all of its promises, that he believes this is going to reignite the MCU, that for the first time in years, he actually has hope for the MCU where he has had no hope for it lately. Where's your anticipation level at? Where's your hype level at? Is it maybe getting too high like mine is? Or maybe you're still so kind of burned out on the MCU right now and all the mediocrity they've had lately. Maybe you've adapted arguably a very healthy, I'll wait and see kind of attitude. Whatever you guys think, jump down into the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, we got to now move on to the most important part of our show, which is taking your comments and questions. But before we do, we're going to take a quick moment and thank another sponsor of today's episode of the John Campea Show podcast, our friends at BetterHelp. We want to thank a sponsor of today's episode, BetterHelp. You know, guys, it's one of the most unfortunate human tendencies that we have to try to compare our life to others. And social media plays a big part of that. Comparison is like the thief of joy, and it's easy to envy other people's lives because on the surface, it might look like they have it all together on their Instagram or YouTube, but in reality, they probably don't. Therapy can help you focus on what you want instead of what others have, so you can start living your best life. Give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online, designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited to your schedule. All you have to do is fill out a brief questionnaire to get matched with a licensed therapist and switch therapists anytime for no additional charge. So get it off your chest with BetterHelp. Visit betterhelp.com/Campea today and get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/Campea. And thank you to the good folks at BetterHelp for sponsoring today's episode of the John Campea Show podcast. All right, guys, with that all down, let's get to your questions here, shall we? Paris, what do we got up first?
All right. Raymond Barada says, though you tapped out of Acolyte, if you need to find out what really happened on Brendock, it's in this episode. It shows you how Saul and the young guy had different motivations, and Indara was keeping everything together. Just an FYI, if you want to know.
Yeah, I mentioned on yesterday's show, a friend of mine got in touch with me and said, so you know how there's been like this, the big secret has been what actually happened on that planet when they got the OSHA. Like, yeah, he goes, basically it was a misunderstanding. Basically it was a misunderstanding that led to a conflict and people died. That was it. Like, I was expecting to hear like the Jedi actually conspired to do something really bad. And like, no, it was basically a misunderstanding. I haven't watched it. I tapped out of it. So there you go. All right. What's next?
All right. Dragon D's Nuts says over under 50% chance that the MCU adapts the Dark Phoenix saga. It's been adapted twice to live action and horribly. Do you think modern audiences are willing to watch another adaptation of this story?
Yeah. I mean, eventually. It's not going to happen anytime soon. That's something that comes down the road. And once it's very clear that this is a new X-Men, this is a new thing, and people are following it around for its own version of the story, yeah, it'll be fine. And audiences won't mind it because not a lot of them went to go see the other ones. So, yeah, it'll be fine. It'll happen eventually, but don't hold your breath. It's going to be a number of years before they get around to that. All right, what's next?
We just referred him as Mr. I.
Oh, Mr. I says, okay, I tap out now. The latest episode of Acolyte ends with a chat GPT produce pop song over the credits. I'm not saying Star Wars is dead, but death itself is standing by the wall, ready to pull the plug on the life support.
Okay, Mr. I, my film loving brother, as somebody who's already tapped out of the show, is the thing that really pushed you over the edge a piece of music that they play over the credits? Is that what the straw is that pushed you from I'll watch a show to I'll not watch a show?
He made it almost to the end.
From the credits?
From
That's
music
tough credits.
that plays over the credits?
He tapped out on the penultimate episode.
I mean...
Was it episode?
No, didn't we establish that there's
Well, that
10?
was 6. That was episode 6, I think.
Or 6 or 7, whatever. But
Yeah.
haven't we established that there's 10 episodes of...
8.
Oh, it is 8. Oh, I thought it was 10 for some reason.
Well, let's hope it's 8.
Well, whatever. It's 6 as far as I'm concerned, because that's how, or 5, however many I watched. It's not going to be any more. But I mean, whatever it is to you, my film loving brother. But to me, it seems like if you were hanging in there,
Yeah.
the music that plays over the credits is the thing that pushes you over the edge. Anyway, hey, we all have our reasons, right? We all have our reasons. All right, what's next?
All right. Mr. I says, I finally got to watch Gran Turismo. That was really good.
Yes, it was.
Yeah, caught me by surprise. Love the fact that the driver the movie is based on did most of his own stunt driving.
Yeah, you know what? They screened that for us at CinemaCon, right? Didn't they screen? No. They just did a big presentation for it.
Right.
I was not giving that movie the time of day. It looked like another throwaway, pointless kind of whatever. No one's going to be talking about this. By the way, directed by the guy who was going to do the Halo movie. He did District 9.
Neil Blomkamp.
Neil Blomkamp, right. And I saw that he was directing it, and I hated his last couple of movies. Like, I hated Chappie, and I hated Elysium. And then, so I went in to watch Gran Turismo with zero expectations. I was very pleasantly surprised by that movie.
Yeah,
I had a lot of fun with that film.
And at least for me, PlayStation Studios has been 3 for 3 or 2 for 2.
They
have
done well.
Uncharted. They have Uncharted, and then they did The Last of Us.
And
then
The Last of Us, and you liked Uncharted.
Gran
Gran
Turismo.
Turismo.
Like
All of
Uncharted.
them have been
Two.
all right.
2
if
for
we gotta
3.
say it.
But yeah, it's a really fun little movie. I enjoyed it quite a bit, based on a real story, and I thought they did a great job with it. All right, what's next?
All right. Biggest says, thoughts on the rumors that James Gunn let one DC character show up in Deadpool and Wolverine. The rumors that DP and Wolvie jump through a portal and land in the Batcave with Ben Affleck's Batman, paying off the DCEU joke in DP2.
Zero.
I love rumors.
You know why? Because it's not up to James Gunn. Because James Gunn's in charge of what they do with it, but the IP belongs to Warner Brothers. And that would have to go through legal and all this kind of stuff. So am I telling you for fact that it is impossible that that happened? No, I'm not doing that. It's possible.
Oh.
I don't see there being any real chance though. So no, I wouldn't believe that rumor at all. All right, what's next?
All right. Jojo Giraffe says, do you think Terrence Howard's antics on Joe Rogan's podcast and elsewhere will prevent him from getting more work in Hollywood? For context, he's been publicly spewing nonsense about a new type of physics that he discovered, where 1 × 1 = 2 and more.
I saw that Neil deGrasse actually made a video about stuff that he was saying. And like when Neil deGrasse starts coming at you, maybe you should listen. Honestly, I don't know. I did not watch. Look, Terrence Howard is a fabulous actor.
He is.
Absolutely fabulous actor. I did not watch his interview with Joe Rogan. I did see some clips where they're talking about some different things like that. I've read about some of the things that he said. Yeah, it's going to hurt. It's going to hurt his chances. I don't think it kills his career, but I think it's going to create some additional challenges. So let's just put it that way. All right, what's next?
All right. Mr. I says, do you think that Horizon Zero viewership Part 2 moved from August 16th due to xenophobia? Oh my God, xenophobia. Alien, Romulus, and the continued run from Deadpool and Wolverine would have buried it at the box office.
No, the fact that nobody's going to watch it is going to bury it at the box office. Horizons Part 1 didn't have Alien, Romulus, or Deadpool to worry about, and nobody saw it. That's the problem, is that absolutely nobody went to go see the first one. $100 million movie that after a couple of weeks has barely crossed $22 million. Yeah. And less than that are going to go see the sequel. That's the problem. Look, I actually agree with their move. Get it on streaming, try to get a bigger audience, but they're saying they're going to announce another release date later. I don't see how they even make back the marketing money. Like, forget the $100 million they spent on Part 2. Forget that for a second. The money they'll have to spend just on marketing Part 2, I don't think they even make that money back.
So do you think between the two, it's 100 million, which we confirmed.
$200 million.
Do you think then it's 300 million for both, for production on both and advertising on both? 300, like
yeah,
50
probably
million?
about 300 million in
$300
total.
million, baby.
Yeah,
I literally would I'd be sweating bullets, man.
Like if you thought you burned useless money buying ETFs or what were they called?
Oh yeah, ETFs. Oh no, not ETFs.
What are they called?
Oh my God. Now I just went
NFTs.
blank. NFTs.
If you thought you burned money on NFTs,
300 million.
then imagine being the producers of, and they spend more money because they've already started shooting Part 3.
They were so confident.
They're going to pull the plug on that.
Yeah.
They're definitely going to. I can't imagine they're not going to pull the plug on
But hey,
that.
Romulus is appreciative of that $8 million they're going to compete with. So
EFTs are good things. NFTs are not. All right. What's next?
As a Mr.
Yeah,
Mr.
Mr.
I.
I again.
All right, Mr. I says on Monday, someone mentioned casting Liv Morgan as Harley Quinn. We already have a great actress who can play Harley who can bring Harley to life. After all, she's Harley's voice for HBO. Kaylee Cuoco.
Kuko. I think.
Kuko. Nah.
Oh, is it? That's how you
Yeah.
pronounce it?
I honestly
Cuoco.
don't see her as Harley Quinn. I'm not saying I don't like her. I love her as the voice of Harley. I love, but honestly,
I
no,
don't
I
wanna
don't
see
see it. I just don't see it. I think Lady Gaga is going to give us a really cool new interpretation of Harley Quinn and Joker, but not one that you would bring into the DCU. And I really liked very much Barbie.
Margot Robbie.
Margot Robbie's iteration of it. I loved it, even though I didn't always love the way she was used. I loved her interpretation of Harley Quinn, but I don't see Kaylee Cuoco as it, to be honest with you. All right, what's next?
Anonymous says, you'll probably think I'm full of it, and I got no evidence to prove this, but I know 2 people who have seen Gladiator 2. They were completely stunned and described it as maybe a best picture shoo-in. And better than the first. Ooh, both hated Napoleon.
Anything's possible.
Considering I know for a fact they have not finished the film yet, that is very...
Seems odd.
Yeah. Like, look, I'm not going to doubt you that you were told this, but I am dubious of the information that was given to you.
Unless he knows people that are like in the edit bay and they're not seeing the finish, but they're like, this is going to be great. But, you know.
Yeah, so
yeah.
Hey, listen, I hope Gladiator 2 is awesome. I hope it's fabulous. I hope it's the best thing ever.
It's Ridley Scott, his friend. That's what it is.
Yeah, Ridley Scott is the greatest. It's better than my first.
First is a lot. That's
So
tough.
we'll see. We'll see. I'm definitely looking forward to it. I hated the music choice in the trailer, but I liked the trailer overall. The trailer was the first thing that's gotten me kind of excited about the movie, so I hope it's great. I love everybody involved with it. All right, what's next?
Gus's Movies says in 2034, Superman's IP will be public domain. Can anybody make their Superman film? What are the limits to what they could do if DC/WBD disputes it?
As of right now, as long as lawyers don't find ways to get amendments to the law and change things, which has happened, once Superman goes into the public domain, it becomes like Thor. Did you know that Thor is public domain? You can make a Thor movie if you want. You can right now. Rob and I talked about this once. That if we wanted to, right now, we could make a Thor movie. Now, here's the catch. You can make a Thor movie, but you can only make a Thor movie utilizing themes and elements and names and things like that that are in the things that are actually in public domain, which is the original Thor mythology. What we cannot do is use anything connected to Thor that was created by somebody else. So stuff like Thor's girlfriend, Jane. We can't do that.
Jane?
Jane? Scoop? We couldn't do that because that's an element that Disney introduced to Thor. A certain style of armor that he wears. We couldn't do that. You can only use Thor elements that were from the original mythology that is in public domain. Nothing that's been introduced since then. It's a lot like when Sam Raimi made his Oz the Great and Powerful movie. He was allowed to use elements of Wizard of Oz that were from the original book. It was the original book that's in public domain, not the Wizard of Oz movie. So things that the Wizard of Oz movie introduced that weren't in the book, and there were many, like I think the ruby red slippers, that was something that wasn't in the original book, that was in the movie. So they couldn't use ruby red slippers. So they had to be very, very careful making Oz the Great and Powerful that they only used elements that were actually in the public domain. So yes, in theory, when Superman goes public domain, you can make a Superman movie. But you know what your Superman can't do? Can't fly. Because in the original, when Superman was first created, he couldn't fly. He could leap over tall buildings in a single bound, but he could not fly.
So you're going to have a boring Superman.
Yeah, Superman.
So you're going to have so yes, it's a very intricate thing, but far more complex than we can go into right now, and far more complex than even I know all the details of, but that's the basic gist of it. And by the way, Tor's at it again.
Yeah, Tornado.
Tornado came through. Tor just gifted another 10 memberships.
Yeah.
Thank you, Tor, the mighty Tor.
The
All
Mighty
right.
Tor, yeah.
What's next?
All right. Logan Vaughn says, I have a pitch. A prequel for Pirates of the Caribbean that tells the story of the original pirate code. We'd see the infamous Breathen Court, directed by J.J. Abrams, starring Tom Hiddleston, Rosamund Pike, oh, I love her, and The Rock. I'll see myself out now.
I'd take any of that except for I don't like the director of that on that. I don't need lens flares in a Pirates movie, but
I like J.J. Abrams as a director.
yeah, but I just don't know if that's the direction to go for Pirates. But
I think he could do a kind of a fun thing with it. I'm not going to lie. I wouldn't mind that. I mean, sure. I mean, look, Disney is definitely going to be looking at doing new Pirates of the Caribbean. It's a very valuable IP, high seas, swashbuckling adventure. It won't be with Johnny Depp. And not doing it with Johnny Depp has nothing to do with the court cases that he had with Amber Heard. They were over Johnny Depp before the Amber Heard stuff. I mean, they were done working with him already, rightly or wrongly. So we're going to get some new iterations of Pirates of the Caribbean. Prequel stuff. I'd rather see stories move forward, but I don't know. We'll see what they do. All right, what's next?
All right, Disney Gifts by Bryce says, John, I wrote a couple of months ago about Wish and how the modern slang took me out of the movie. What I was trying to express is exactly what you're talking about with the music in the Gladiator trailer. You expressed it better than I. Good man. Cheers.
Yeah, I'm not so worried about slang, colloquialisms. Am I even saying that properly? Language, stuff like that in fantasy movies, right? Like the world of Wish, for all we know, is happening in an alternate dimension right now.
Right.
Like so that's fine. Now, if it was meant to be set in real world England in 1421, and some guy says, I don't know, what's a stupid slang term? Bro or whatever. Yeah, that would really pull me out of it. But if it's in some fantasy, then it's not our world anyway. It's not real world. I'm okay with that. That's why I'm also okay with it with music and trailers for fantasy films that aren't supposed to be whatever. Gladiator is supposed to be a historical epic. So that's
Skibbity
one thing.
on Skibbity.
Yeah, so
Whatever it is.
I mean, so that I'm okay with that, I suppose.
As
long as it's not supposed to be the real world, our world, it's a totally fantastical, made-up fantasy world.
You do inadvertently then you predate the movie.
Yes.
Because then the next generation, when they have their slang, they're going to be like, oh, that's stupid. That's like old. No one uses that slang.
Yeah.
And now you've dated your movie. And especially if it's already a period piece, it should have just been exactly what the period was.
There's a great line that I reference a lot in that horrible Alien versus Predator movie, where like they're in an ancient temple, but they find like a very advanced piece of technology. And the guy says, this is like opening Moses's tomb and finding his DVD collection. So that's to that point, right? Like if you're supposed to be real and you have something that is not from that time period, it will feel very off and awkward. But if it's a total fantasy film, then I'll become a little bit more forgiving of it. All right, what's next?
All right, Space Cowboy says, "Hey John, just piggybacking off the topic of whether or not there's a hunger for Shrek 5. I'm not sure if you're aware, but Shrek raves have become a big deal touring across the country. Shrek-themed costumes, cocktails, and music. The people crave Shrek."
That's a very small group of people. As a matter of fact, do you guys remember? I came into the studio one day and I actually showed Taylor that the fact that there was a Shrek rave going on. We had an advertisement for it, and like they encourage you to paint green and all this kind of stuff.
Wow.
Look, there is definitely a love of Shrek out there. I don't think the existence of Shrek raves proves there's $1 billion of business out there. But regardless, I think Shrek 5 can be $1 billion film. I do think the hunger for Shrek is out there. I think people are excited for it. How much so? We'll find out. All right, what's next?
All right, Gimme says, "John, I'm about to start watching House of the Dragon for the first time. Your usual suggestions of shows is great, Shogun, etc. Hope this one is a banger as well."
Dude, I'll tell you what, I was won over in episode 1 of season 1. I could not believe how good, I still can't believe how good this show is. Yeah. It's fabulously written, like multiple layers of narratives going on all at the same time. I think you're going to have a really good time. It's a little gruesome sometimes. Be ready for that, but I think you're going to love it. It's absolutely fantastic. All right, what's next?
Mag Detector Wookie says, "I'm continuing to watch The Acolyte. I'm not a hate watcher, but I consider myself a completionist."
Oh, I get that.
Yeah. I can't figure out why they gave Kalnaka a beach metal detector. Still trying to find a good script, I guess. Hoping for a good Star Wars show.
Somebody showed that.
Script was
Somebody
made of metal.
sent me a screenshot of that, and I thought it was fake and photoshopped, where literally they're walking around with like a real world looking long stick, round dish at the end, metal detector, like they're walking on the beach looking for nickels. And I thought it was fake. And then somebody told me, no, that was actually in the episode. I'm like, really?
Yeah, John. That's how we can relate to these Jedi.
That's how we can
How you
relate.
know.
All right,
God,
what's
I gotta
next?
watch this. So Ron says, "Hey John and crew, I wanted to ask you, do you think Shrek 5 will use the same animation style as Puss in Boots: The Last Wish, or do they go back to their original animation style and look?"
I think they'll go back to the original style and look. I got to admit, it took me a while. I really like the last Puss in Boots movie a lot, but it took me a bit to kind of get used to the animation style, to be honest with you. I think they will go back. I don't know this for sure, but I think they'll go back to the original Shrek style. All right, what's next? Good question.
Sorry.
So Joey says, I don't understand why politics in The Boys twist everyone's knickers. Star Wars, House of the Dragon, and many other properties are full of political elements, but people love those. Make it make sense, John. Also, knighting scene in season 4, episode 7, so funny.
Okay, so we haven't talked about it. Episode 7 of The Boys is so good. The last night's episode. Well, I think because I've mentioned this before. The politics in The Boys has always been fairly clear, but it's become less subtle, right? It's almost like Eric Kripke is like, okay, in case you're not getting the point we've been making for the first 3 seasons, let us be a little bit more obvious about it. And now they're like hitting it right on the nose. And they're actually even then remimicking real world events to this to really, but at the end of the day, despite the fact that it's just less subtle, it's the exact same stuff they've been doing and saying since season 1, episode 1. It's the exact same stuff. It's the exact same tone. But again, to be a little bit more understanding about it, the fact is a lot less subtle than other things have been. It's less allegory and more kind of right on the nose. For some people, that rubs them the wrong way. Perfectly fair. For others, it doesn't. And I think this season has been, I'm not going to say this season's been the best season that they've had, but it's right up there. I think it's been great. All right, what's next?
Jeff Nicholas says, with the major streaming outlets starting to bundle their catalogs and services to mitigate churn, do you think this will force them to disclose their viewer numbers? This could lead to more transparency in the streaming wars.
No. And I've said this before, I'll say it again. Would I like to have more access to the streaming numbers? Yes. Yeah. Are we owed it? And are we entitled to those numbers? No, we're not. The only people who are going to be entitled to those numbers are people who are paying for the numbers, and that's advertisers. That's it. Nobody else is owed, and maybe shareholders, but we are not owed those numbers. We are not entitled to those numbers. So would I like to have them? Yes, but they're under no obligation for us to see them. We're viewers. We pay them for access to view content, and they show us content, and that's where the relationship ends. So I would like to see it, but I don't think they will, and I'm not really all that bothered if they do or if they don't. All right, what's next?
Lou from TX says, this stupid hurricane cut my power for 3 days, rough. You would think the first thing I did was wash my clothes. No, make me a hot meal. No, I watch House of Dragons, baby.
You clearly have your priorities right. Listen, I am always, this is a sad commentary because no more than 3 generations ago, we didn't have power. 3-4 generations ago, not every house had power. So it is scary how reliant we are on electricity. That is why, like, you guys can't see it, but over here, I got a stack of solar generator batteries that we actually run this entire studio off of. Some of you know this. I've got a back patio deck, and I just threw a bunch of solar panels on the roof of my patio deck. They're not even bolted in. I literally just threw them up there. And I run the cable down into my solar generator batteries, and that's how I charge my car, and that's what we run our entire studio off of. All, 12 monitors and 5 cameras and fans and lights and everything else. It all runs, it charges up during the day, and the next day we plug everything into those solar batteries and run it off solar. But the main reason I got these things was not to charge my car and not to run a studio. I wanted to have these things so when the power goes out, because it does sometimes, I can just throw a switch and I will have internet because I got Starlink too. We'll have internet and we'll have streaming and we'll have our lights and we'll have our monitors. And that's the big reason why I've maybe it's a little paranoid, but that's why I've got all the solar batteries over there. All right, what's next?
Mike says, after seeing some positive comments suggesting a binge of The Acolyte, I decided to finally see what the fuss is all about, and it's a solid show, man. I know you said the writing is bad, but I disagree. The pacing is way off, but I'm glad I binged instead.
And I'm glad to hear it. I think it's an absolutely horribly, atrociously made show.
The people want you to love it. That's the problem.
Yeah, it's well, everybody who likes something wants everybody else to like it. I understand that. I do too. I want people to like stuff that I like. I get that. But I'm super glad that you're enjoying it. That's the beautiful thing about art. It hits us all in different ways. And I'm not at all gonna kind of deprive you of the way that it's hitting you. If it's hitting you in a positive way, I think that's wonderful. And it doesn't take away from how it hit me and the fact that I don't like it. And I think it's a very badly written show and horrible dialogue, no beeline narratives at all, very amateurish making, but it hits you differently. And that's the important thing. And I'm glad you're enjoying it. All right, what's next?
All right, JT says, can't wait to see the Zodiac crew bring home gold this year at the Paris Olympics. Let's go, B-Boy Pisces. Release the tapes, John.
For those of you who don't know, Zodiac Crew used to be the name of my breakdancing crew.
Oh,
Sorry.
okay.
And I was a professional breakdancer.
No way.
Yeah, I know. I know.
Release the tapes.
And my name in the Zodiac Crew was Pisces.
Okay.
And we actually got paid to go around and dance at events and things like that. And there is like 1 or 2 VHS tapes that still exist with us dancing on it.
Oh.
And they are buried away in the archives up in Canada at the Campea Ranch, buried away that will never see the light of day.
Oh.
Never see the light of day.
Were you
Camp
good?
Walker Ranch.
I was pretty good. I wasn't the best in our crew, and our crew wasn't the best in the city. I was pretty good. I won some competitions. My trademark blue Adidas head-to-toe windbreaker outfit I won at the Hamilton Roller Gardens at a breakdancing competition.
Pretty cool.
My main thing, though, in the crew was because I was a big guy. Like, I was this size when I was, like, younger. But my main thing was to be the swinging one guy around by his feet, letting the other guy helicopter on top of my head, you know, stuff like that. On our bigger set pieces, I was that
It's
guy.
actually John in the background there.
Yeah, there it is. That's me.
Oh, boy.
That's me in the background. That was totally my life. All right, what's next?
Oh, that's awesome. All right. Anonymous says, did you watch the Variety video interview with Hugh Ryan and Sean Levy? It gave great insight to why they decided to make this movie, but now I feel they're hyping it up too much and that I'll end up disappointed in the movie. Also, chances on a third trailer.
Well, the guy in the IGN article they mentioned, they showed them the first 35 minutes, and then they showed them a brand new trailer. We have not gotten a brand new trailer yet. So yeah, I think we are going to get one last big trailer sometime probably this week. In the next 7 days, I should say. Sometime in the next 7 days would be my guess. All right, what's next?
Matan with his always positive comments.
Okay.
All right.
Matan says, Hugh Jackman said that DP3 exceed everything that he did with Wolverine in his last 25 years. That is delusional when Logan exists. And DP3 is going to be the polar opposite of Logan by being unsincere quip fest. Ouch.
Oh, okay, Matan. I didn't know that you saw the movie. I didn't know that you knew better than Hugh Jackman. What are they doing?
Peak negativity.
Why are
Yeah.
they working with Hugh Jackman and not you? It's good to know that somebody realizes that Hugh Jackman, who actually was in those movies, doesn't know anything about them. And you know better. Listen, we don't know whether or not the movie will be great. I mean, it looks great. I'll just say this. If Hugh Jackman is saying he thinks this is the best he's done, and he's the guy who made Logan, that doesn't automatically means 100% it will, but it definitely means that's what he thinks. And if you want to dismiss the single most qualified person on the planet to give an opinion on that, okay, you're entitled to do that. Feel free. You're making yourself look silly doing it, but feel free.
All I know is some of you suckers are gonna watch this movie and try to find every little thing.
Yeah.
Of
But
course,
I'm
there-
gonna,
Yeah.
but I'm gonna sit there and I'm gonna laugh. I'm just gonna laugh. I'm gonna have a good time. I'll try not to talk during the movie, but I'm just I'm just here for it. It's supposed to be a good time. It looks like a good time. I'm not gonna see any gonna think it's any more than that. And I can't wait to see these two guys duke it out in this film.
And again, listen, I am fully cognizant of the fact that this movie might fall on his face. I know that. I know that's a possibility. I'm saying everything I've seen so far looks great. And if Hugh Jackman is saying he thinks this is the best he's ever done, this exceeds anything he's ever done as Wolverine, well, I'm not saying that 100% means he's right. I'm just pointing out the fact that there is literally not another human being on the planet who is more qualified to give an opinion on it than him. And so also, maybe we should just, take him at his word till we have a chance to see the movie ourselves.
And also, if it is Jackman's last Wolverine, well, at least in the MCU, he's like done with it. We have him walking away in the yellow suit. That could be just as emotional as like the Logan ending. You know what I mean? Like if they
I don't know, man. That's that.
No, but I mean,
the emotion
like
in that. Matching the emotion might be hard.
They can do something in this movie where, like, at the end, you're like, "Whoa, I didn't expect that." Who knows?
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe
we'll all see it.
It's possible.
Can I bring up something?
It's your show.
Yeah,
it is my show. I feel dirty for bringing it up.
You know what? Never mind. Let's move on.
Yeah,
but I don't mean dirty as in, I feel, and maybe I thought about bringing this up when we were discussing about whether or not Hugh Jackman will continue on playing the role. I've made the argument that he said he doesn't want to live that way anymore. It completely governs the way he has to eat, exercise, everything his whole life. He's over it. He's 55, blah, blah, blah. One of counter argument to that might be, and again, I feel bad for bringing it up, but it's an elephant in the room. It's just a fact.
The build up.
Hugh Jackman's marriage fell apart not long ago.
Oh.
And maybe something like that reorients how he's looking at his life. I don't know, because that's a significant thing. That's a big major thing.
Alimony.
No, I'm not talking about alimony, but I mean, he was married for like 30 something years.
It was a long time. I felt really bad when I heard that.
Very,
news.
very. I felt horrible for them when I saw it. But the reality is, recently and this is Hugh Jackman isn't coming out of a Hollywood marriage. It's not like he was married for 6 months and got no.
Right.
Him and this woman were together for decades and decades. They have children together, all that kind of stuff. And maybe an argument can be made that with the ending of a marriage, which is a majorly significant thing, especially a marriage like his, that maybe that has kind of reshifted the way he's looking at his life. And maybe he's thinking, yeah, I do want to work out like this every day now. I mean, I don't know. I'm just throwing that out there as a possibility.
I mean, it's a built-in distraction, to keep moving forward. So,
or the other route of like, now I want to be carefree. I don't have a wife to worry about. I don't want to worry about my body. Let me just be me and do fun projects.
Let me eat donuts and play video games all day.
I love you, Hugh. I'm not a part of this conversation.
I'm not saying that as a negative thing about you.
Oh man. Okay. Let's go.
G is uncomfortable over here.
All right. What's next?
All right. Ronnie W says, "Hey John and crew, Shelley Duvall passed away at 75.
Yes.
I loved her in The Shining. She was so accurately and perfectly cast as Olive Oil in Popeye. Both movies came out in 1980. Crazy nostalgia. I forgot she was also in Time Bandits.
Yeah.
Shelley.
But I also forgot that those both came out in the same year. Yeah. How crazy is that they came out in the same year?
1980.
I'll tell you what, though. Whenever I go back and see if you can find the Popeye trailer. It looks like it was shot on an old VHS camcorder.
Yeah. But those trailers back then were so bad.
Yeah, all trailers
this
back
is what
then.
you will see in this movie. This guy will do this.
Even
and this
the
will do that.
original Star Wars trailer.
Somewhere in space.
Somewhere in space. Yeah, it's awful.
See that.
Awful. The original trailer to Star Wars. All right. Anyway, what's next?
KJ Irving says, "Hi John, on May 1st, 1999, SpongeBob first aired and is celebrating its 25th anniversary this year." Oh wow, cool. So it is still putting out new episodes. Do you have any memories from the show? Mine is the episode Band Geeks.
My biggest memory of SpongeBob is seeing it once and going, what the hell do people see in this?
Oh no.
Look, everybody's got everybody, all of you watching have something that everybody else loves, but you're like, what's the deal with that? We all have that. Yeah. That might be, SpongeBob might be mine. I have, and I'm not trying to take away anybody's joy from it because it clearly gives a lot of people a lot of joy. But for me, I have never understood the appeal. I don't get it. I'm not into Bluey, but I can totally see why people adore it.
Don't you bring my dog in this.
I'm not into a lot of, there's some anime I'm really into, but a lot of it I'm not. But I can totally see why there are a lot of people into it.
So you never...
But SpongeBob, I don't get it. I just don't get it.
You never saw that movie that they did do? Like the one where, I think we're still at AMC, the Bikini Bottom one? The one that everyone actually thought was decent? You didn't?
No.
Okay.
No. I saw like a couple episodes and why do people find this appealing? I don't get it, but people do. And I'm not taking that away from anybody. I'm just saying for me, I'm like, I don't get it.
I don't know how my parents know the creator of SpongeBob, but they went out to dinner with him years ago. And I remember this is like a random story. We framed it, but they were out to dinner with him and he drew like, a SpongeBob image on a napkin.
Oh, you mean the creator of SpongeBob?
Yeah.
I thought you said they were out to dinner with SpongeBob.
No, the creator.
I'm like,
my parents are real.
Smoking today.
But they were out to dinner with him. I don't know how they know him, but they were out to dinner with him. He drew like a SpongeBob cartoon and like signed it to the girls, and then he signed his name. We have it framed to this day. It's on a napkin. But I'm like,
that's pretty cool.
How do you guys know? It's so out of character for them.
I can't wait for Hollywood Reporter to report that their parents went out with
had dinner with.
You know what?
SpongeBob.
We're going to talk about Hugh's divorce some more.
Oh.
Gingy says, with the release and success of Elden's Rings DLC, Shadow of the Erdtree, there have been talks with the game's director, Hidetaka Miyazaki, about adapting it into a show or movie, which leads to my question. Have you or the crew ever played Elden Ring?
Okay, so
I tried. I couldn't get into it.
I loved the look of Elden Ring, but our buddy Ryan, he knows that I am terrible with console remote control games.
Me too.
I'm just terrible. I'm a keyboard and mouse guy, and so I have a really hard time with like difficult console controllers. My brain's just not wired for it. And I was gonna go, I really like the Elden Ring looks so good. I want to pick it up. And Ryan was just like, don't. They just said it's a really, really tough game. I'm like,
it is.
All right, I'll just give that one a pass.
Do not play Ghost of Tsushima. Please don't play it. You will be so frustrated. Like, I love the game. You will be frustrated with the combos that you have to do to like make things happen.
Yeah. Do they have a keyboard and mouse version of it?
Oh yeah, I think so.
I see that. I might want to give it a try.
It's on Steam.
Oh, is it on Steam?
I'm
I
sure.
might have to try that out then, because I am terrible with remotes. I am terrible with remotes. All right, what's next?
Gingy says, with the release since... Oh, wait. Did we just do that one?
Oh, yes, we did. Sorry. There you go. Anonymous there.
Anonymous says, I'm happy to hear that critics' response to Deadpool and Wolverine. How will it reignite fans? How will it reignite fans? Before it's more than just that. Can it actually make some sense of this multiverse story? Because to be honest, it's left me confused.
Doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if it makes sense of the multiverse or not. That's completely irrelevant. What they need to do is make a good movie. And winning cures everything. You put out a great Deadpool and Wolverine movie. Doesn't matter if it sorts out the multiverse. It doesn't matter if none of that matters. All that really matters is in a period of time right now where we are becoming sadly accustomed to going to Marvel product and finding mediocrity. If they can, with a few exceptions, Shang-Chi, Guardians of the Galaxy 3, things like that. But if they can just put out a great movie, a movie that people walk into, and when they walk out, they're smiling and talking to each other about what they saw and buzzing and running over to their phones and opening up the app to buy their next tickets. That's all they need to do. They need to begin the process of readjusting our thoughts, associations, and expectations of a Marvel movie again. Because I've said this in other times, it should be on a t-shirt. It used to be that when we would go to a Marvel movie, we expected it to be awesome. We expected it to be awesome. But over the last couple of years, now when we go to a Marvel movie, we hope it's good. Expected awesome, hope that it's good. If Deadpool and Wolverine can be that good of a movie that it starts to raise the overall feel, association, all that kind of stuff about the MCU again, to make people start to believe that, hey, if they killed this one so good, maybe Captain America 4 with all the reshoots they did and everything, maybe that's going to be something special too. By the way, apparently they're supposed to drop a trailer to that today. Don't know why. It's way too early, but apparently they are. Anyway, and maybe that Thunderbolts. If this is this good, maybe Thunderbolts will be better. It's about elevating the expectations. It's about changing the narrative of where the MCU is at right now. And regardless if this thing addresses multiverse, who gives a shit? All that matters is, do they make a great movie? Because if they make a great movie, and that's a big if, but if they do, the narrative changes. We're now not like, oh, I don't care about the MCU. You know, it's like, holy shit, that was really good. I'm kind of interested to see what the next one does. That's all they need to do. And if they can do it, great. And if they fail to do that, they're totally screwed. Totally screwed. All right. What's next?
All right, and They Not Like Us says, how successful can Captain America 4 be? There's no Chris Evans, the reshoots balloon the budget, lots of folks didn't see Falcon and Winter Soldier, and let's be real, there are gonna be folks who won't accept/hate a black Captain America. Hope it's good.
Okay, so this is very similar to the situation of the upcoming James Gunn Superman film. Remember, I've told everybody, the next Superman movie is not going to be $1 billion film. It's not going to be a huge blockbuster success because it does not need to be. That's not the number one priority. James Gunn knows that this Superman movie has to be the first step in completely rewriting the story of DC and changing the narrative and getting people back on board. It is rehabilitation. The first movie, it's not about how much money does the first movie make. It's about how good is that movie to set it up so the future movies can make a lot of money. Captain America 4, its number one job, and I think Kevin Feige knows this, is not to be a big moneymaker. A lot of the other movies, that is their number one job. This Captain America 4 movie is not. This Captain America 4's number one job is to be a great film. And understand that it's not going to be $1 billion film. And understand that maybe at best it'll break even. But will it do what hopefully Deadpool and Wolverine will do? Will it change the narrative again? Will people go see and go, oh my God, this movie was awesome? And even if it's only $400 million worth of people that go sees it, and even if Captain America 4 loses a little bit of money, which I don't think it will, but even if it does, if the movie is great, and again starts to raise people's expectations about what the MCU can be, Kevin Feige's in a little bit of the same situation that James Gunn is in. Obviously not identical, but a little bit of similarities in the sense that right now the MCU is in a rehabilitation mode. Get people back on board, readjust the expectations that Marvel does not equal mediocrity, which it has lately, but rather Marvel equals excellence, and restart doing that again. It's not about how much money does this movie make. It's about how good is this movie to set up the future movies to make tons. How can it set up Thunderbolts to make a lot of money? Because I'll tell you this, if Deadpool and Wolverine is awesome, Captain America 4 will make more money than it would have. And if Captain America 4 is awesome, Thunderbolts will make more money than it would have otherwise. That's the domino game they're playing right now, and that's what's important to them at the moment. It's about the next 20 movies, not about the next 2. See what I'm saying? It's about the next 20 movies, not about the next 2. All right, what's next?
All right. Professor X says, I've heard Marvel's animated series What If will end after season 3. I feel like that's a bad decision on Marvel's part because that show is a perfect vessel for Marvel to introduce new characters and provide one-off stories deemed too expensive.
It's a useless series. I'm glad that it's gone. I'll be honest with you. It's a useless series that honestly not many people watch. Like if you go over that, remember they released those data numbers on that. Not many people watch What If. And it's ultimately kind of meaningless. Because, yes, you can say, but John, that Dark Doctor Strange that we got in Doctor Strange 2, that came directly from What If. Yeah, but it didn't matter.
You didn't need to see that.
A lot of people walked
into
a lot of people watched a hell of a lot. Nearly $1 billion worth of people went to go see Doctor Strange 2 who did not see What If and made no difference. That show is completely irrelevant. And it's mediocre at best. There's some episodes of What If that are awesome. Some I really, really like. And many of them, they're just kind of throwaway nothings. I'll be honest with you. I think they shouldn't be wasting their time on What If. I think it's just a drain on their resources and manpower and finances. I think it's kind of a useless show. I'd rather them see them invest their manpower and their talent and their money in things that actually matter, because What If isn't one of them, in my opinion, at any rate. All right, what's next?
Professor X says, I've heard Marvel's...
Oh, I guess that's a part 2, but it didn't do a part 2.
Oh, yeah. Oh, so it said...
Sorry about that. I thought it was separate.
All right, so I'll finish his sentence. It said, so I feel like that's a bad decision on Marvel's part because that show is a perfect vessel for Marvel to introduce new characters and provide one-off stories deemed too expensive for the big screen. Some of the live-action Marvel shows have been misses, so it might be advantageous for Marvel to take advantage of the open concept of their hit animated series.
It's not a hit.
Number one, what hit? It's not a hit.
It's not a hit.
That's the thing. They've shown by their own things. It's one of the reasons they're pulling the plug on it is because not that many people watch it or care about it. And it has no relevance. It doesn't do anything to further the MCU. Yes, some of their other live action shows, I would argue the majority of their live action shows have been misses. 100% that they have. But honestly, in my opinion, so has What If. So again, a couple of really good segments that they did that I loved. But overall, it's just been kind of complete waste. So I think they're good for moving on from it, to be honest. I'm not trying to change your mind. I'm just giving you my point of view on it. My point of view is, yeah, move on from it because it's been a waste of time.
I think it would have been like, I love the comics, the What If comics, but even those people didn't take seriously. And I just feel like, these aren't like one-off stories because it's still within the multiverse. And so it's not like a true like Elseworld.
Yeah.
I think if they had done it and it was like a true just Elseworld story that were one-offs, that they didn't interconnect each episode within a series, maybe it would have been a little more interesting, but you're still trying to like tie it to the MCU in some way, and it just became muddled.
I like the animation style of it. I have to admit.
I don't have a problem with the artistic side of it.
Yeah, it has its merits. 100% it has its merits.
And some of those stories were really good. And it's also expands the library under Marvel and Disney Plus.
But nobody
it gives
watches
an option.
it. That's the thing. Nobody watches it
now. But who knows down the line? I don't know. Maybe
who
people
knows
come back
down the line.
That's like saying, like we all go
hey,
back
Kevin
and watch
Costner,
it.
keep making the next Horizon.
Suits.
Oh,
That
yeah.
ain't
Okay.
gonna
So
go
wait a
suits.
second.
I'm just saying.
So wait a minute. Your
I'm just
argument
saying.
is going to be bringing up a show that's 1 out of 10,000 and say, see, it can
I'm just
work.
saying to like completely disregard a show and like say like not like get rid of it or whatever. It's just like there's some people who like it and some people
Well, we didn't
maybe
say
in
they
the
weren't.
future.
Yeah,
some
there
people in
are
the future
some
may
people
like
who like
going
it.
back to
And the library's still there.
I'm not saying
I'm just
that there aren't some people. Of course there are. Like our viewer here likes it, right? There are definitely people that like it.
Right.
But the amount of people that liked it and watch it is not equivalent to the amount of energy, money, finances, manpower, creativity they had to put into making it that ultimately didn't do anything to further the MCU. And less people watched season 2 than watched season 1. So it's been on a decline anyway. So
They're probably like they want to put money into X-Men. You know what I mean? Like
yeah, I mean,
animated
I would
department.
much rather them put their creativity into X-Men
you could do
97.
X-Men, you could do What If. It's just variety to me.
Do it
It's
all.
money.
It's variety to me. For me,
but
as someone
sure.
who doesn't pay, it just gives me another option for.
But there
other
could be
things.
more variety on the way. I mean, maybe doing this after 3 seasons, they're going to give us something else.
I
Yeah,
mean,
it
yeah.
frees up money and people and creatives to now create other things to give us more variety.
Right.
If they cap it too, it'd be nice. If they cap season 3, then it would be like, cool, this is like a nice little complete.
And
you know.
hopefully season 3 is really good.
Mm-hmm.
And look, they can say it's done. They
And
can
come
say
back
it's
to it.
done.
Yeah.
Just like Joker was supposed to be a one-off, no sequel movie. If by some miracle season 3 of What If becomes some massive smash hit, guess what?
No,
they
it'll
may have
continue.
said
Season
that's
4 is
it.
coming. Yeah.
They'll do another one. If by some miracle that's all of a sudden everybody starts watching What If season 3 and it's amazing and it's blowing everybody's minds, bet your ass there'll be a season 4. I don't care what they said.
I would love a What If Star Wars. Just one-off story.
They did.
They did?
Yeah, it's called
Oh, was that Visions?
Visions,
Or
yeah.
Oh,
Star Wars
so
Visions.
that is a
Yep,
What If?
that's
I've never-
basically Star Wars What If.
Oh, yeah, I
alternate,
should
yes,
check
on
that
canon.
out, actually.
All right, what's next?
All right, Gaz North Wales says Cineworld are closing 25 cinemas in the UK.
Yeah.
One is the only cinema for a 20-mile radius in North Wales. Yes, Ryan Reynolds' playground. So, what do you think of this?
It sucks, but here's the thing. We've mentioned this before. The pandemic is behind us, but for movie theater chains, it's like a bullet shot wound that you survived, but it's still there. And an infection sets in. And over time, it gets worse and worse and worse. The pandemic is still killing movie theaters. Because for a lot of movie theater chains, they got into such economic peril that they then try to triage. They try to make up for it momentarily, but it created long-term damage that eventually it catches up with them. Cineworld is one of those bodies. They suffered, like all movie theater chains did, they suffered huge, unspeakable financial damage during first of all, the pandemic, and then second of all, the strikes. And eventually, and by the way, this won't be the last time. We're going to still hear in the next year or so, we're going to hear about more theater closings and stuff like that. It totally sucks.
Yeah.
Hopefully, if we have a fantastic rest of 2024, other principals will come in, pick up leases on these empty theaters and reintroduce them. Hopefully that happens, man. I hope for your community it does.
We should feel so lucky that we have theaters down here.
So many.
They're almost like as much as Starbucks. Like,
Yeah.
well, not as much as.
Well, no,
Starbucks.
but I know what you mean, and you have variety. Like you have that Cineworld that you love.
Yeah, it's Cinemark.
Cinemark that
Yeah.
you love.
But it's one of the last places we have where we could get together as a community and do something together. Like the malls are going out. Like this Tyler Mall, it's going to be gone pretty soon. If you walk in there, a lot of the stores are gone. I mean, movie theaters, we got to appreciate them well.
Yeah, 100%. All right, what's next?
Logan Vaughn says AMC A-list makes the cost of movie going affordable to me. The catch for me is scheduling because I'm a parent. It'll never happen, but if theaters figured out how to add a small daycare for little kids, I'd be there twice a week. Just a dad's dream.
Here's the problem. I remember when we were still at AMC and I was doing AMC Movie Talk, I remember there was this big discussion came up about what if they had daycare at movie theaters so parents could go drop their kids off, kind of like church,
Yeah, they had the crying room.
Yeah,
the baby
they
room.
would have the
Crying
crying
room. The
room.
baby room. I'm sorry, crying room. It was almost like the hockey penalty box.
Yeah.
Really, at our church, there was just a glass, and
Yep.
they could hear everything.
You can go and drop your kids off and stuff like that.
Take 'em to the
Great
crying
idea. In principle, it is a great idea, right? If parents don't have to go get babysitting and they can still go and all kind of stuff. Here's the problem. The moment you hand me your kid, there is a lawsuit just waiting to happen.
Yeah, I was gonna say the insurance costs on that alone.
Crying room is better.
Like the first time a parent comes out of seeing Bad Boys 4 and notices little Sarah has a scratch on her cheek, fucking lawsuits. It is an absolute litigation nightmare. And if they could figure out some way to do it and legally protect themselves, well, just have the parents sign a waiver. That ain't gonna, waivers don't protect you from shit. The moment they can figure that out legally, you bet your ass they will close down the bars and open up a daycare, because it'll bring in so many more people in movie theaters. They would love to do it, but it is a litigation waiting. It's a lawsuit waiting to happen, and I don't think anybody wants to get involved in that.
You just got to hire a Sal for each location. Sal knows how to keep people quiet.
You know what though? Here's the thing. So Ann drives a Tesla, and there's this great feature. I mean, Teslas have many great features, but there's this great feature called pet mode, right? It's called pet mode.
Oh, boy.
Because, wait a second.
Someone's going to try this.
Hear me out.
Wait, we might get sued for this suggestion.
Because you
so
know
do
how
not do this.
It's like, it's terrible. You see people leave their dogs in cars and they're overheating, right? Pet mode mean the car knows your dogs are in the car, and you set a temperature for the car, and the car, no matter what, will always keep the temperature in the car set to 73 degrees. And it'll even put up a big message on the screen, and the Tesla says, my owners are away for a bit, but don't worry, I'm perfectly comfortable in here, because it'll be perfectly comfortable, all that kind of stuff. So what you need to do,
Well, there goes our jobs.
drop your kid in your car,
In your
set it to pet mode, put a little SpongeBob on the screen, and you're good for a couple hours. Leave it with a little cup of water or something
Iron
like
their little
that.
suit so they could go to work already.
Where will they use the
Might
bathroom?
as well, man.
Start carrying your weight, kid.
Oh, yeah, okay.
We got mortgages to pay.
I'm still down with the penalty box in the
The
theater.
cry
Penalty
box.
box.
Yeah, the cry
I think if
box.
they're going to do the kid mode on a Tesla, just invest in condoms
Pet
instead.
mode. Just pet
Don't have a
mode.
kid.
Put it into pet mode and leave your kid in there. The kid's fine. The door's locked.
Post-pregnancy penalty box. Now in
Crazy
theaters.
penalty box.
Yeah. Disclaimer, we're joking.
Disclaimer,
Please,
we're
no.
joking. John Campea, nor his show, actually encourages the idea of leaving your kid in a car.
The rise
Just to
and
be
fall
clear.
of the John Campea Show.
All right, what's next?
Gus says Superman's and Batman's IP will be public domain on 2034 and 2035 respectively. Can Marvel or any publisher make
We've already,
their
yeah, we
own
already,
stories based on
that
these
just repeated.
characters?
We
Yeah.
already answered that one, yeah.
Superman,
It was a different
Like,
one, but
yeah.
yeah.
All right, so yeah, we already kind of covered that.
Yeah.
All
Anyway,
right,
we
what's
got
next?
members here. So,
All right, we're almost out of time, so we'll just get through as many members here as we can.
James
quickly.
Wheeler at the top.
James Wheeler says, as has been stated in other places, R.I.P. Shelley Duvall, amazing in The Shining in Nashville.
Yeah, again, one of the most distinct kind of performers we've had in Hollywood too. That's been around my entire lifetime. Is truly a loss. All right, what's next?
Dark Smirk says, greetings all. You are all the best. When there's more movement on Cavill's Warhammer 40K show or movie, do you think it'll help make it more mainstream? Will you jump into the universe yourself, or are you already interested in it?
My buddy Rodney Brazeau, who was on the very first episode of Jedi Council, as a matter of fact, he got me into playing Warhammer. The tabletop. The problem with Warhammer is it's a very expensive game to get into, and very expensive in terms of real estate in your living room, because you got to have like a big ass table and all that kind of stuff. Anyway, yes, if they ever actually get around to getting Henry Cavill's Warhammer up and going, because he's got a new Highlander series he's getting starting on in 2025, so. You're not looking at him getting started in Warhammer till at least 2026, if it happens. But yes, it will do a lot to help make it more mainstream. 100% it will. All right, what's next?
Joe Holland says, hey, John and crew, how you doing? Hope your day's going great. Was wondering which one will win the box office, The Crow or Alien Romulus? Thanks, and bring on
Alien
the
Romulus.
Yeah, Alien. I don't think
100%.
either will do huge, but Alien.
Yeah, I again, I don't think either will be huge, but Alien Romulus is looking awesome. By the way, contrary to the hate campaign out there for it, I think the new Crow looks perfectly okay, but Romulus looks way better. So I think, and it's a more popular IP. The Alien IP is much more popular than the Crow IP. So I think Alien Romulus pretty handily will win that. All right, what's next?
All right, John, Jermaine King says, John, tomorrow Netflix is premiering an animated series that I think you'll love. It's called Exploding Kittens, and Tom Ellis is a voice actor on the series.
Zero interest, but I love Tom Ellis. He, of course, played Lucifer Morningstar in Lucifer. I love that show, but I have no interest in the series. The next series on Netflix I really want to watch is that new superhero one that everybody's talking about.
Yeah.
What was it called again?
Oh, the one from
Super-
they're in London.
Supa or
Yeah.
Supercell or
Yeah,
Supercell.
Supercell. Yeah, I really want to watch that. Everybody's saying
Yeah.
like really great things about it. All right, what's next?
Red one.
Red One Real Talk says, have you seen the trailer for We Live in Time yet? I know it'll crush me emotionally, but I can't wait to see two of my favorite people in the industry, Florence Pugh and Andrew Garfield, on screen together.
I usually roll my eyes at people when they say, the trailer just showed me the whole movie, because I'm like, it's probably like the first 10 minutes of stuff you saw. So I usually roll my eyes at people, but I'm going to be that person. I felt like the trailer showed me the whole movie. I mean, maybe it didn't. Maybe it didn't. Maybe it just showed me a little bit of it. Definitely looks emotional. I love Florence Pugh. Love Andrew Garfield. He's my favorite Spider-Man. But I can't help but feel like it just showed me the whole damn film. Maybe I'm wrong, though. Hopefully I'm wrong. All right, what's next?
Dominic Summers says, do you think it will be a bit jarring to see Wolverine in a much more vulgar / crash context compared to what we've seen him in over the last 25 years? Not necessarily jarring in a bad way, just different.
Did you see Logan? So no, it's not going to feel jarring at all.
Yeah.
Just like in that little in theater turn off your phones Deadpool and Wolverine message where they're walking I think through a tunnel or something, and Wolverine just rips into this long profanity long thing. Didn't feel out of place for Wolverine at all. And even if it wasn't for Logan, I think it would totally feel in place for him. But with Logan being there, I think it'll totally feel normal.
Yeah, and plus vulgarity is like it's not a change. I think when it comes to those jokes that are maybe sexual, I guess, or maybe explicit in that way, that's where I think it'll be weird to hear Wolverine, anything like that in on that sort of theme, hear him say.
All right. What's next?
Alan Sivakumaran says, hi, Campea crew. Do you hear a theory that all Pixar movies are all in the same universe?
Been around for 20 years.
The only one that I don't think fits that well would be Lightyear. I didn't think that really fit in with the film Andy saw as a kid.
I mean, look, they've put Easter eggs of other movies. For instance, just in Inside Out 2, Riley has a poster of Four Town, which is, of course, the band from Turning Red. Their movies are filled with stuff like that. They're not really all connected, but that the whole Pixar connected theory thing has been around ever since, the first movie after Toy Story came out. So that's been around there for a long, long time. All right. Last question of the day. What's next?
All right. What's it going to be? Jose Mai says, today we're going to get the first teaser for Captain America Brave New World.
I keep hearing that. I haven't. This doesn't mean it's not true. I'm just saying I haven't seen it. I have not seen anything official that said that's coming. I've seen a lot of rumors going around that there is, and it very well could. I'm keeping my eyes open for it. But to be clear, I haven't seen anything from Marvel, Disney, anything like that has said a new trailer for it's coming out today. So maybe it is. I hope it is. And if it is, great. We'll talk about it tomorrow, but I haven't seen anything official for it.
It'll probably be a cut of what we saw at CinemaCon. They showed us
Probably.
maybe a 5-minute sizzle reel. They'll probably cut that into a trailer.
Yeah, probably. All right. And guys, that'll do it for today's installment of the John Campea Show podcast. Thank you so much for being here, making this little show part of your day. Big special thank you to all you guys who sent in questions. Number one, because it gives great fun things to talk about. But number two, you supported this channel as you did it, and all of us involved with the show. Thank you guys so very much for your support. Guys, don't forget to come on back and join us again tomorrow. We'll look forward to seeing you then. So until then, I want to thank the people in the room with me, Ray Ora.
Hey, everyone, be safe.
Jonathan Voico.
See you guys.
Paris Rose.
Bye.
My name's John Campea, and until next time, my friends, bye-bye.